Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Magnuson, and I administer the Blandin Community Broadband Program. Today, we're going to be talking about the Partnership for Connected Minnesota RFP. I'm going to turn it right over to Bernadine to introduce herself and our speaker and the topic today. Bernadine?
Thanks, Mary. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to have you with us today. Thanks for joining. And it's really my big pleasure to introduce to all of you my good colleague, Tiffany Kong, who's with us from St. Paul, Minnesota Community Foundation. Tiffany, would you say hello to everybody?
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here. And thank you, Bernadine, for inviting me here to just share a little bit more about our ConnectedMN Partnership. I'm really excited about this opportunity and looking forward to sharing more and just answer any questions that all of you may have in regards to how this partnership is going to help our students across Minnesota be able to get connected.
Thanks, Tiffany. It's so great to have you with us. Thanks for joining. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull up our team at the partnership has helped us pull together kind of a slide deck to introduce the program with you this morning. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up, see if I can get my screen share here. Bear with me a quick second. Are we good? You seeing that? Nice. Okay. Partnership for ConnectedMN. We're here to talk about that today. Wanted to introduce to everybody the request for proposal that is on the street. We're now accepting applications for these funds, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So to kind of start at the beginning, Connected Minnesota is a new public-private partnership. Tiffany and I have met virtually, pulling this together. We'd never met each other before, so in this age of COVID, she and I and the rest of the team from a bunch of different organizations have come together to address this purpose that we've articulated for our partnership: to build a more equitable, resilient state where each and every student can learn, thrive, and prosper. That's what we've set out to do in our partnership. Very ambitious goal, but a worthy goal for our state. And we're going to talk more about this today. We're addressing kind of that trifecta, that intersection of, and we all know, I've learned this from Ann Tracy about what, digital inclusion has got three components, right? It's got the connectivity, the device, and the ability to use it. So all those three elements we're going to try to address with funding available through this partnership. So the devices, connectivity, and the supportive services that we need to ensure that all kids across Minnesota, no matter what zip code they live in, have access to quality distance education this fall. So I wanted to pause just a minute to give a little background, kind of like the creation story, how we got here. So early in the pandemic, our then CEO, and those of you who know Blandin Foundation know we have a new CEO, Tulia Palmer has joined us in the last several weeks. But just at the end of Kathy's tenure, she got a phone call from Governor Walz, who was looking to create a partnership to address this need that we're talking about today of connectivity and the uneven access to quality distance learning that our kids across the state are experiencing. And Governor invited Blandin Foundation to join this public-private partnership. And that's how I met Tiffany, because he made a similar call to the St. Paul, Minnesota Community Foundation, as well as some of our private sector partners that have joined us, recognizing that this is a big challenge and the state is going to take all of us, all sectors together, working together to address it. And so that was really the origin of it, was really people in the children's cabinet, in the governor's office, needing to respond to their urge to put an extra tool in the toolbox. What can we do together in a new public-private partnership way? As we all know, here in Minnesota, right in the middle of May, shortly after we've been dealing with the Stay Home Minnesota shutdown, we had the murder of Mr. George Floyd and all the civic unrest that resulted from that we're still dealing with as a state and a nation, and the opportunity that presents to us, and the partnership kind of paused we were just getting stood up at that moment when the world kind of shifted and all this civil unrest came to the forefront. But we decided as a partnership that the need was even more present, and that all of the inequities that were kind of highlighted during that civic unrest only redoubled our resolve to keep going on our partnership for ConnectedMN. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tiffany, and she's going to walk us a little bit through some of the details of the RFP.
Thanks, Bernadine. So the Partnership for Connected Minnesota, the RFP is live as of Friday, and we are accepting applications right now. As Bernadine had mentioned, we really are focusing on that connected piece to get students the resources that they need for this next academic year, and specifically K-12 students. Now, the focus really is going to be around bringing tech devices and internet access so that students can get connected. And we want to make sure that our most vulnerable communities, especially our BIPOC communities, low-income families, and students in rural Minnesota have access to this opportunity. And we came to tech devices and connectivity as kind of the main focus areas of this grant opportunity through a lot of conversations that we've been having across the state from many key partners, with districts, with nonprofits, with government leaders, Department of Education. These are the needs that they are hearing, that they see the community is really needing, and that students are needing during this time in order to really have the resources that will help them continue on with distance learning or virtual learning for the next academic school year. With the funds that we have available right now, we are awarding grants up to $150,000. And as I mentioned, the application we are accepting applications right now. The RFP is live on the ConnectedMN website. So applications will be due September 1st by 3 p.m. And there is also a link, information on the website of where you can submit the RFPs. You submit it through an email. And then decisions will be made Monday, September 14th. And then we are hoping to have those funds distributed by the end of December so that partners can get those funds to be able to, purchase devices or work with broadband partners across the state in order to get that connectivity that students are going to be needing. So a few examples, and again, these are just examples of projects that we are going to be anticipating coming in or would be looking for consideration. Of course, the biggest ones are subsidized broadband internet services and partnerships with broadband partners to offer discounted services to eligible families, low-income families, and those in rural Minnesota that may not have reliable connectivity. This is one that we've actually heard from a lot of nonprofits that we had spoke to during the initial stages. This idea of digital navigation, having somebody there to really help connect families to the virtual learning, or providing them resources and being that navigator to help them access internet and access and be able to get technical or technology devices to help students to get connected. Safe spaces for students to access the internet, programs that address other basic needs such as transportation, to allow participation in online learning, of course, distribution of free or low-cost computers or technology for students that currently don't have them. And then also purchasing and distribution of technology to assist students without broadband services. And then also teacher training and support in online teaching and learning. We know that not only are our students needing to have to shift to this virtual learning, but our teachers and educators need to as well. And so we want to be able to support our teachers in their own training and online learning as they prepare their students this next academic year. Now, our eligible applicants, So we are opening up this opportunity for 501c3 nonprofit organizations across the state who are working in partnership with school districts and supporting the school learning experience of these vulnerable communities, high needs, BIPOC communities, indigenous communities, and students in rural Minnesota who don't have that connectivity. Minnesota's tribal governments and for Bureau of Indian Education contract schools, and then organizations who are also a member of the eligible telecommunication cluster, so METIN. Those are the eligible applicants that we are anticipating and are going to be accepting applications from for this next academic, or for this opportunity. And as you can see, we will not be accepting grants, or we will not be making grants directly to schools or to school districts. And these grants are really designed to complement the resources provided to schools from the state already. So a lot of that has been through GEAR and ESSER funding from the governor's office, and the dollars that we have available in this partnership are really meant to kind of complement those resources. And so that's the reason why we made the decision not to grant out directly to schools and school districts, but organizations, as I mentioned, that are working in partnership with schools and school districts are encouraged to apply for this opportunity. And then here is just a list of some of our founding members and other foundations and partners that are a part of this partnership. We, as Bernadine mentioned, is a private-public partnership, and so we are really glad and excited to have all of these partners with us, and we are always increasing our partnership list as well too. So this is a list of our current partners now.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And I just want to highlight for everybody on the call to know and share with others that the St. Paul, Minnesota Community Foundation, which is hosting this fund, has agreed also to receive individual donations. And so if you as individuals or your organizations or others that you're aware of that might want to participate are welcome to participate as co-funders as well in this effort. So as Tiffany said, we're still accepting donations, and that website address, which we'll put up here in a minute, where you can go to learn more about that. So that's kind of the slide deck that we prepared with the basic information about the RFP, the deadline, the eligible applicants, the qualifying activities. And at this time, I know Tiffany and I are happy to just take whatever questions that you have. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now, and we can refer to it again if we need to. But at this time, I'd just like to open it up for questions. And Mary, is there any questions in the chat box so far?
No, just a couple people have introduced themselves. We have a couple of people here from the Rochester area.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, Alyssa Hansen has a question. Do we have any private companies stepping up in Northeast Minnesota?
Thanks for the question, Alyssa. Glad to have you on the call this morning. I am not aware, Tiffany, are you of any private companies from our part of the state?
No, I haven't heard of any yet in that part of the state. We may be having conversations, but with partners up there, but we haven't heard of any as of today yet.
I would like to take this opportunity, though, of your question, Alyssa, to thank Minnesota Power, a good northern company that we had a press conference yesterday announcing the new Minnesota broadband speed test that has just been launched across the state. And I was so proud and pleased that Minnesota Power is a sponsor of that project. So good for them for coming in with that.
Alyssa then says, let us know how we connect them to you.
Great, thank you. Well, why don't we follow up after this call, Alyssa? We could talk more about that. Thank you. I wanted to just emphasize that the list of projects that Tiffany walked us through is meant to be illustrative. So it's not meant to be a complete list, but just to kind of get your thinking going. Those are the kinds of activities that, at the intersection of connectivity devices and supporting services. So we meant to just kind of spark your imagination with that. It's not like it has to be on that list of projects.
Bernadine, how can internet service providers participate in this program?
Thanks, Bill, for that question. We have received, and I'm glad you brought it up, a lot of internet service providers from across the state have reached out to the partnership and expressed that very question: how can we participate? How can we help? And we are, in all candor, Tiffany, I think you'd agree with me, we're still kind of figuring that out. We have conceptually kind of chunked out this partnership into different phases. We've agreed, the founding partners, that we're in this for the long haul. This is a big need, and it's not going to be solved by an initial infusion of cash dollars. It's going to take some other kinds of collaboration. And so now that we have this initial request for proposal out for our initial grant round, we do hope to be raising additional funds to make a follow-up round, say perhaps early in 2021. But I think in the next stage is also, Bill, when we're going to be really sharpening our pencils and figuring out what does it look like to layer devices or other contributions that internet service providers connectivity could offer the partnership. So I guess my best answer to that for today is stay tuned. Tiffany, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we specifically like in the Twin Cities metro area, Comcast is a big partner of ours, and is a big partner in this partnership as well too. And as Bernadine mentioned, we are having trying to have those conversations even across the state of how we can work with broadband partners and others. And we are hoping to have additional phases of this partnership. Right now, this is our phase 1, and hopefully with phase 2 and the future phases, we'll have more additional resources and partnerships that will really provide those well-rounded holistic services that we're going to need for our students in the future as we continue to be in this pandemic that we're in.
For now, we're kind of collecting inquiries and expressions of interest. And in the next couple of weeks now, we're going to be turning to figuring out how to, I'm thinking it was like how we could layer that over the grants that we're making. Right. But we're figuring it out as we go. So ideas and suggestions are most welcome to either Tiffany or me.
Yes.
So I guess I'm surprised you didn't say they should contact their regional school technology cluster to participate, so that they could actually be a part of the application.
Sure.
To make a regional effort stronger.
Yep.
Where would they find that list of eligible applicants?
So the list of eligible, well, you go ahead, Tiffany, you've got it at your fingertips.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that. So on the RFP on the website right now, we do have a list of who those eligible applicants are, as well as the groups under the technology clusters under Meetin. So there's a link on the RFP that you can go to that will share who those clusters are, where they are located, so that those that may be connected to them can have the potential to apply for these funds and to gather additional resources. The telecommunication clusters, they were one of the key groups that we had conversations with prior to to help us really inform this process of what direction we should be moving with this partnership to be able to offer the best resources that students and families need during this time.
Al Loon wrote in the chat box, are you familiar with Coast to Coast and the Knight Foundation, and posted a link.
Familiar with the Knight Foundation, but not with Coast to Coast. So I'll have to check out that link.
We'll post the link along with the materials in the archive so people can look at it later.
Thank you, Al. We are trying to do this initial phase now and think about other things we can do together as a public-private partnership, and that those would include ideas like collaborating on a statewide computer collection and refurbishment effort if we can get all of our partners aligned. And then, you know, a clearinghouse potentially for these other providers who would want to contribute devices or connectivity. We really are trying to find ways to create doorways for people and companies, providers with devices that want to participate. But the first step that we have today to announce is this request for proposal for grant funds to our eligible applicants.
I see Carla Leiden on here from the East Central Libraries. Do you see libraries having a role in this, or is this really school focused?
Go ahead, Tiffany.
Yeah, I think that, you know, libraries that are working, of course, in partnership with the schools are eligible to apply. As you know, as we've mentioned with our 501c3 nonprofits, and you know, with our libraries kind of falling into some of those areas around our eligible applicants, working in partnership with the schools, I think that they could be eligible to apply, and we could see proposals from them as well.
I would just offer this additional perhaps detail that the need is great, and we recognize with our limited resources that we have at this point that it would benefit us to focus. And so we really are focusing on the K through 12 learning experience, in-school learning experience. So we're very intentionally not among the eligible applicants. We're not really trying to address out of school time, pre-K. We're really trying to focus on the school learning experience of K through 12 students.
Bernadine, Kurt Croshoe is on the line, introduced himself and said that he's here so that he can better communicate with tribes when it comes to broadband opportunities. How do you see, and this isn't a question that he asked, but how do you see tribes participating in this?
Welcome, Kirk. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining.
Nice to see you, Bernadine. Thank you.
Yeah, tribal governments and the tribal Indian education schools, the contract schools are eligible applicants. So Blandin Foundation, on behalf of the partnership, will be reaching out directly, individually, one-on-one, sending invitations and links to the RFP to all of the 11 federally recognized tribes. Kirk, you helped me with those, so we know that we're addressing them to the right people. And we will also be reaching out. Tiffany's shop and our shop at Blandin will be contacting all of a group of eligible applicants directly following this webinar. And thanks to Alyssa for posting the RFP. It is available online and the link is now in the chat box. Thanks, Alyssa. So we expect, and we're hoping that tribal governments or the Bureau of Indian Education schools would look at this opportunity and consider applying for the funds.
Hello, this is Alan. The question I have is there any kind of scoping requirement in terms of the different regions would have different needs and different realities, right? So for example, the rural area, their emphasis may be in the infrastructure versus other regions. Do you have any kind of preference in terms of what you try to address? Are you trying to address more the Twin Cities area, the larger metropolitan area, or the rural area? Is that kind of thought?
Yeah, we did have some questions around this early on when we had begun with the partnership, because the focus of the partnership is for students across the state. So it's not specific to, or there is no special emphasis on metro or urban areas or in specific rural communities across the state. This is really an opportunity for every student across the state, because we know that there are, initially what was was said was 25,000, but we know it's much more than 25,000 who need that connectivity across the state. And so there is no preference given region, but we really want to encourage applicants from across the state to apply. And we recognize that the needs in different parts of the state are going to differ, and we welcome that. We really know that each community has and knows the solutions that they need for their students, and we are open to those applications and willing to have conversations, both Bernadine and I, with the eligible applicants to kind of talk through what a proposal or what kind of projects each community is thinking about submitting in order to receive funding and access these resources.
Thanks, Tiffany. The only thing I'd add, Al, is that in their RFP, there is some language about how we are going to take geographic diversity into account and keep that in mind as we make the awards. So we do want to see these resources benefit both rural and metro areas of the state, and we will have that in mind as we look at the allocation decisions.
I may add too, what I like to see is the ability to, in terms of long-term sustainability, right? Scalability, that kind of notion. In order to combat the situation right now, you're sort of like reaction mode, emergency mode. So you do a lot of things in an urgent way. You might just deploy something in a small scale pilot way, right? But then we need to also consider that these, are they able to eventually be more seamless, integrated, down the road, so that the whole connectivity is sustainable and scalable long-term too.
Thank you, Al, for that. You've really captured the dilemma that we're trying to square, the circle, because there is an urgent need for Band-Aids, right? But we also want to invest in longer-term solutions. And so one of the evaluation criteria that our team has included in the RFP is a point on innovation / sort of sustainability. So we're looking for, we are inviting applicants to talk to us about how their grant proposals are innovative and or do offer a longer term solution, while still recognizing we have some real immediate needs that may just need Band-Aids. But the real win for the state, right, is that we could invest in longer term solutions, just as you say.
And we're hoping to have more conversations about that and figure out the direction in our kind of quote unquote additional next phases that we're hoping to have, because we know that, technology, devices, and connectivity, as Bernadine mentioned, is just a Band-Aid right now, and that there are larger inequities even and other gaps that are continuing to persist during this time and to really be magnified during this time. So we are looking for that innovation of how applicants are exploring potential long-term solutions, but we as a partnership are also are going to be having those conversations and still thinking about how we can continue to support our communities in addition or beyond just this partnership as well. And that's why also we have so many of those key partners that you had just seen the list there, both, again, those in private and in the public sector, all working together to try to find solutions and create opportunities for solutions.
And Tiffany, that reminded me, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this, that the partnership has put together a resource page that you can also access on where the RFP is. And so there are trying to draw people's attention to other funding sources that are available right now in the state to address the schools and students' needs. I'm looking at the folks on the call today, a lot of old friends from our Blandin on broadband work. And those of you who are community broadband leaders are well aware of the state's border-to-border grant program, and also well aware that really a permanent, more long-term, as Al was talking about, integrated, future-leaning solution is really building networks. And so that the resource page on the RFP points to other parts of the solution in the state, and we recognize that this funding isn't going to be able to build new networks, but we're grateful in Minnesota that we do have the border-to-border grant program that is currently accepting applications as well for community-based solutions. And then I would just mention that there is that FAQ, that frequently asked questions, that's on the website with the RFP, and hopefully that any questions you don't have, we don't get answered today, you can refer, look there and refer others to that as well. But Tiffany and I do welcome questions between now and the 1st of September when the grants are due. So we'll put I can put that slide back up again here for a minute with our contact information on that. Well, I think I can speak for our partnership to say we're really excited to have this opportunity to bring some additional resources to our true heroes here in Minnesota, our teachers, students, families, trying to figure out how to have a good, productive fall at school, and recognizing this is just an additional drop against a lot of need, but excited to be able to be working with you to bring some additional resources to our schools. I'm just gonna pause for a minute here. Any other questions, feedback, comments? And if not, Tiffany and I will welcome you to be in relationship with us in the next couple of weeks as we look forward to getting some good proposals from all of you.
Yeah, Bernadine, thanks for allowing us the opportunity to participate in this. It's a great discussion, and I think I can speak for almost all of the chambers in the state. They would all be very supportive of initiatives like this that would, expand the use of broadband, not only from the education perspective, but also from workforce development. I mean, it's a changing world, and in order to be competitive in the state, as Al said, we have to look to the future, and how do we develop, how do we build a broadband system that supports the future as well. And I don't like the term Band-Aid, but the small projects are great for communities and for local chamber of commerces to get behind them and support them to do that. But I think for the future, we really need to start to look at the responsibility of the state. The state has a Department of Transportation, they have a Department of Natural Resources, and this is part of our infrastructure, and it's going to become more and more critical for us to have a competitive state that it provides the broadband services that we all need. And as long as Kurt's on the phone from DEED, I think DEED needs to take a real hard look at this and what they're doing with workforce development issues, and really get behind a program like this with some state funding to expand it, to make it available for everybody to do that. Our school districts did a phenomenal job with no warning when the pandemic hit. I mean, I can't even believe that we were as successful as we were closing out the school year, especially rural communities like the Grand Rapids area where we have limited broadband service, So as we have this conversation, I guess I'm going to check in with Doug Loon at the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce and see what their policies are today. And that might be a good place to start the conversation of how do we move broadband to a higher priority item rather than just, yeah, everybody needs it, we know that, and we're all kind of splintered talking about it all the time. But I think it would be good to get one voice, a good solid voice at the state level. And I think the Department of Employment and Economic Development is the place it belongs.
Thanks, Bud, for that. And I'll just piggyback on that, take the opportunity to give a plug in terms of statewide voice to the Minnesota Rural Broadband Coalition. Those of you who are not aware of it or members, that they're an advocacy organization that aggregates the voice of rural people who need broadband to fully participate in society. So I commend that coalition too. They're a member-based coalition, and they need member funds in order to continue their advocacy at the state capitol. So that's a place to look to participate in this effort to get more public investment in the infrastructure we need for the future. Good. Well, with that, you can let your friends and colleagues know that we will be recording this, and it'll be available on our website later today, I think, Mary, right?
It'll be available on the Blandin on Broadband blog later today.
Good. And again, I just thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us. It was great introducing you to some of our rural colleagues. And thanks everybody for being on the call, and do reach out with your questions and or suggestions and help us spread the word.
We look forward to all the proposals.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys stepping up like this.
Thanks, everyone. Next week's roundtable, the topic is going to be speed tests, the statewide speed test, I believe.
Thanks.